This show is going to be at the Citizen Theatre. What does it mean to do a show in that place in particular?
Wow, it's a huge thing for me to do the Citizens Theatre. I was brought up in the Gorbals, on Gorbal Street in the high-rise flats, Norfolk Court. So I lived directly across from the Citizens Theatre, so that was the first stage that I ever seen. And in fact, my mum was reminding me that our home phone number was one digit away from the Citizens Theatre. So we used to get so many phone calls. And my dad was a brickie, so we thought we were getting phone calls to do a patio, but it was somebody wanting to see an art house revolutionary socialist play. So there was always a wee link there between me and the Cits, and to be back in that stage, right where I grew up, just means the world.
Yeah. 25 years in radio, you're a broadcaster, you're a presenter, you're going back to stand-up. What draws you back to the stage?
It's a great question. I've not done any kind of long-form solo stand-up show for over 10 years. And now, approaching the gig, I'm thinking, what have I taken on? But every comedian goes through this, and it just feels like this is what I should be doing. This was my day job. Everything else that came after that, I've loved it, but it was a bonus. I got into this to do stand-up, and then when I saw about the Citizens Theatre getting refurbished and rebuilt, I thought, well, they built a whole theatre in the time that I've not even done a proper stand-up gig. So that gave me the little impetus to say, let's do it. If the Cits can rebuild, then I can do it. And it felt just about right. 10 years felt long enough to leave it, so I thought, yeah, why not, let's do it.
Writing this, is this something that just you start from scratch and you went for it, or are there bits that have been rumbling about your head ready to go?
I nearly went for this show twice. I nearly went for it and I bottled it, or things happened. So I've got a collection of ideas that I probably had about 2019. I thought 2020 is going to be my year. I'm going to go and tour this, it's going to be great. And then the world collapsed and I just didn't. And then I never went back to it, and I toyed with it a couple of years ago as well. And even back sort of 2017, 2018, so there was a couple of moments that I thought, because really it was a coming of age show, but a lot later than it should have been. And some of the ideas from this then went on to be a TV series that I did called Des Doesn't Do. The fact that I was only finally now adulting. I was learning to do things that I probably should have done as a kid or a teenager or in my early 20s. And that show took me on a journey where I learned to drive and tried to learn to swim, overcame a fear of heights, got a tattoo, lots of other things as well. So parts of that became the building blocks for this show, and now I've just managed to get it to a place where I think it's ready for the stage, I hope.
Glasgow's always had music and comedy, but it's not always had stages where people can try out things, and that's been a big change. How do you think comedy in Glasgow's changed since, like you started out?
Oh man, comedy's changed a lot, but in some ways there's things that stay the same. I still think the audience are honest. I still think funny's funny. If they like you, they love you. If they don't, you'll know about it right away. But that's good. You want that as a comedian. You want a genuine audience, and you know where you are. In terms of the performance spaces, when I started out, it was Blackfriars, the Merchant City, which I'm glad to see is still there, still thriving as a comedy venue, and that's been through changes over the years, and it's re-established itself as a stand-up spot. The Stand in Woodlands Road hadn't opened when I did my first gig, and now it's gone through a full cycle and it's moved to Great Western Road, and it is equally brilliant. So I think that it's gone through different phases, but I do think, looking around the city, there are still enough places where you can go and try out your stuff, and that's what you need. You need places where you can go and make mistakes, and that's what I remember from starting out in comedy, dying so many deaths on stage, but you learn from it. So I think from what I've seen of the circuit, dipping back in and out of it now, loads of creativity there, loads of great talent coming through, but hopefully there's still room for me to have one last shot at it. So that's what I'll hopefully do at the Citizens Theatre.
Kevin Bridges has told a story about going home steaming after listening to Oasis records and sending an email to the Stand, which is how he ended up on stage for the first time. What was it that drew you onto the stage for the first time? Do you remember how that all started?
I probably would give credit to school. I was a really shy, introverted boy growing up, and I went to Holyrood Secondary School, where unbeknownst to me then, Frankie Boyle had been a few years before, so there was a comedy lineage there. And as a wee boy, I used to love watching comedy. And Billy Connolly, I think anybody that's that successful and funny in your accent, you always look to him as the godfather of Scottish comedy, and certainly the godfather of any kind of Glaswegian humour. But I used to do little funny voices and skits for my pals, never the confidence to do it on a stage. And then my pal at school called Paul said, I've signed us up for the school talent show. My mind was blown. My sister's 3 years older than me, and she was saying, please don't embarrass me. I'm in 4th year, you're in 1st year. I've got a reputation to protect here. So he got us up on the stage. I wrote this little 5-minute skit. He and I ran it back and forth together with about 2 days' notice. And it was impressions of the teachers. It was funny little quips. And at the age of around 11 or 12, that gave me a buzz for doing anything in a stage that I'd never had before. And I remembered that. Did a few other things in the school. And then eventually it was that moment of, I'd done a comedy workshop for a brilliant comedian called Viv G when I was 17, 18, and then when I was 19 I thought I'm going to go down to that basement in Blackfriars and see if I can do it. So somewhere along that line it was seeing Billy Connolly, and then it was just my mate giving me the push to do my school talent show, and ultimately I got on stage. It was a lot different in front of grown-ups in Blackfriars, but it was a starting point, and then I guess you just take it from there.
Tell me about this show then, tell me about what we're going to see at the 6th.
You're going to you're definitely going to see the most personal show from me, because in all the things that I do, which I love, Heart Breakfast Show and Breaking the News, I'm giving myself out there, we're having a laugh, I've got loads of guests and co-presenters on, but to actually stand and talk about yourself, it's something that I've probably never really done for a full show, so you're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see reflections. Certainly at the Citizens Theatre show, I've grown up in the Gorbals and grown up in Glasgow, and where I am now, almost starting over. So, is it a midlife crisis doing a comedy show? I don't know. I'm not getting a ponytail, a leather jacket and a Lamborghini, but it sort of feels like doing this show stopped me having a midlife crisis. So please come and laugh. And it's all those stories, it's those little stories that have been building in me, the things that I wanted to say that maybe I don't get a platform to say elsewhere, and it's definitely about me finally growing up. That would probably be the key theme of it.
Okay, let's talk about some of your favourite places and people in Glasgow. So Des, what are your favourite restaurants in Glasgow?
I am not the most adventurous eater in the world. I think anybody that knows me will know that. I'm scared of a condiment. But I'll tell you, I love Italian, and I'll give a shout out to La Lanterna. I remember giving them an award on stage. This was not related to why I'm giving them a shout, and the head chef there gave me a kiss more passionate than any of my previous girlfriends have ever given me. So for that reason, and for their bolognese, I'll give them a shout. For another Italian, I would then go La Bella Vita as well. So that's probably two that stand out for me, because that's my favourite type of food. So yeah, they get the shout.
Give me Glasgow bars from any era that just make me think immediately of Glasgow.
I'll go straight to comedy, and I've given Blackfriars a big shout because it's where I started at. The State Bar in Holland Street for me just meant so much, because downstairs they had a comedy gig there run by a guy called Billy Bonkers. Now just imagine starting out in comedy, you're 19, 20 years old. I was still on the landline, and it used to be at that point you were getting phone calls from your mates called Paul and Brian. Now my mum's like, there's a guy on the phone here called Billy Bonkers. Is this a wind up? Like, no, he's booking me, I'm getting 20 quid for this. And those memories, and what it became then was a meeting point for all the comedians. So we would meet in the State Bar. Loads of lovely memories for that. And then later on, a guy called Chris Broomfield ran the gig. He's just sadly passed away. So recent memories of that. But that place stands out, I think, the State Bar, just because it brings me back to comedy. And yet, obviously, places like The Stand and Blackfriars. You can see I spent a lot of time doing comedy gigs. This is every comedian that walks into a bar and goes, could you get a mic in here? Could we make money out of this? So, yeah, that's where my mind goes straight away.
What are your favourite Glasgow buildings? Again, you disassociate with the city.
Favourite Glasgow buildings? God, that's... What a question that is. Am I going to be one of those typical Glaswegians that just walks by and then I'll think of one later on? And Glasgow buildings, what do clever people normally say for the answer to Glasgow buildings? Do they do Kelvin Grove Art Gallery? It is a nice building, I'm not going to deny that. Kelvin Grove's good. What's the white one down there that's got... Oh my God. Well, I suppose iconic Glasgow buildings, Gallery of Modern Art is probably there because it's just in the middle of town and it's fancy. It's got a cone and some goths. I just think it's got something about it. Yeah, so I think that's probably up there. Trying to think where else would be iconic buildings. Oh, I miss the old art school. That was part of the start of the journey for Breaking the News. Yeah. That's where we had some of our very earliest shows. So I'll put that in the mix there. And yeah, if the performer side of me comes out, I'll go back to theatres. King's Theatre for me is just iconic, and I did Panto there for years. And then we're talking about the Citizens Theatre. I would see it every single day, seeing what they've done with it and how amazing it looks. I would give that a nod. Can also say Pollock House in Pollock Park. Being more of a South Sider, that's somewhere that I would take wee walks as a boy, and now I would still go past there. So this was a question I thought I'd no answer to, and now I've got far too many answers.
Des Clarke, what's your Glasgow music?
What's my Glasgow music? Well, I went to Holyrood Secondary, so I've got to say either Simple Minds or Travis. It's just, if I say anything else, I'll be in big trouble. Yeah, they're on the wall of fame in my old secondary school. I think I'm somewhere up there. Frankie Boyle was on there, but there was controversy about the picture, so we're still in discussions about that. But yeah, I think seeing people that came from where you came from and sat in the same classrooms as you, then go on to have huge success, is just something special. So many great acts and artists, but that personal connection, I'll go a tie then. If you can give me Simple Minds and Travis, then we'll call it a draw.
Brilliant, thank you.